Welcome, everyone, to episode number 4. No one thought we'd get this far of Uplift and Shift, co-hosted by myself and the incredible Kenny Lange. We have a really great show for you today. We have Chris White and Jason Petro of the Profit First app. We will, as always, gently warm them up with some softball questions, throw the curveball question, and then dive into thoughtful leadership for small business owners so that they can take real action in their business today. Welcome to the show, everyone. We're going to jump right into rapid fire questions. Now, Jason, Chris, I would love both of your perspectives here. It'll be really fun to have this dynamic of 4 people. So the first question, who's a business mentor you would love to shout out and put a little extra love onto? Who deserves that recognition? Maybe who's near in your orbit that suddenly gave you a dose of inspiration that needs that call out?
That's a great question. I'm actually going to call out a recent one for me. A client of mine, Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann, retired. And this is a warrior, a patriot, 23 years, Green Beret, 13 in combat. He was an EOS client of mine. And then I became a client of his because he has a whole leadership program that he has established. And matter of fact, just not last weekend, but the weekend before, he held a 2-day storytelling workshop. So I've always appreciated getting the military leadership side of things and how they look at leadership paired along with our entrepreneurial way, which are two very different dichotomies and sometimes. But overall, I'm so grateful to this man. He has taught me in a short amount of time, 5-6 years, so much that I'll carry the rest of my life with me.
Wow. Thank you. Scott, if you're watching, which I hope you are, thank you for your service. I got to watch you at an EOS conference, and I'm still thinking about your talk. I think that was a couple years ago now. So, wow, what a good celebration there. Jason, anyone?
I got to shake his hand, and I'm still terrified.
Intimidating fellow?
A little bit, yeah. I was like, I think he already, my bones were broken just by his gaze. It was cool.
He's something to behold. Really mean it. There's very few people who can really fill a room with their presence. He's it. Mm-hmm. He's one of them.
Yeah.
For me, I struggle. I had a few different people. I think one comes to mind just most recently over the past couple of years. I'm in a CEO group, and I've made a lot of great connections through there. That's actually how I met Chris ultimately. That's a different story, but there's the CEO there. His name's David Morgan, and he's really become not just another CEO there, but he's really become a real close friend of mine, to where we spent a lot of time like working out together and doing things outside of work. And when I have that relationship with him, he really held me accountable outside just being in that buddy kind of area, along with that professional area, having that cross and having somebody that you can talk to for multiple different reasons has really helped me in a lot of different ways. And he pushes me more than just about anybody. He'll call you out and he holds you accountable. So that would be mine.
Isn't that funny that the people that we appreciate and respect the most call us up and call us out? Yeah. So I love that.
That's what we need.
That's what we need. All right. What is something you wish every small business owner, and I'm talking to you nonprofits as well. Kenny, what's the line?
Nonprofit is a tax status, not a growth strategy.
Yep. Everybody needs to care about profit. No mission, no margin. So, Jason, Chris, what is something you wish every small business owner knew?
For me, my background's in technology. I understand numbers, always felt comfortable there, but I really didn't have that process for managing cash through my business that created a financially healthy business. Just like any process you have in your operations or sales process, having something to manage that brings a lot of comfort, and it brings a lot of consistency and stability in the business, and allows you to take those next steps of growing and things. So that would be mine.
You guys have heard the 3 legs of the stool, right? I think when I think about it in that framework, a small business owner needs a system, some sort of framework that increases discipline and accountability, and the left hand knows what the right hand's doing. So for some sort of framework, they have to keep their finger on the pulse of cash flow management. Regardless of what age the company is, but certainly in the beginning when margins are tight, resources are thin. And then I think the third piece for the owner is they either need to, it's either one or the other, because again, they can only afford so much, but it would be to either join a peer group or get a coach for the owner. Now, I'm not talking a framework or a systems coach. I'm talking get an executive coach, someone that holds you accountable instead of your leadership team. When you're typically on the small end, it could be you and 3 other people.
I had this stat prepared just in case cash flow came up. According to SCORE and US Bank, 82% of small businesses fail because of cash flow.
Yep.
So if there's one piece of advice, I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
I love the leadership comment too. Jason, in your acknowledgement, you talked about somebody who's challenging you and pushing you. It may not have the title official formal executive coach, but it sounds like something similar. So a beautiful start. Okay, here's the tough one. This is actually the tough question. Like you thought the first ones were hard. You guys are clearly versed in technology. There's this common item that is talked about in the technology space, and it is spelled .gif. What is the proper pronunciation for .gif?
Dude, you're lighting a match right now.
We normally do the hot dog one, but I knew this was the right one, and I didn't. Just for the audience, I didn't tell Chris or Jason this was coming.
Eunice, get ready to kick people out.
How about G for GUI?
Oh, yay. Okay. I can live with GUI. That one's correct, but
what is it?
GIF.
Jason?
Wait, hold on. I don't think I understand the question. You said, what is the pronunciation of .gif? GIF?
Or
GIF?
Or GIF, like the peanut butter?
I'm a GIFer. Nope, I'm going GIF.
Chris?
I'm going GUI.
You have to explain GUI, because I always thought it was GIF.
No, I'm playing.
That's a totally separate thing. That's graphical user interface.
That's where I was going to go.
Okay,
I wanted to see if anybody was going to. No, I call it GIF.
Okay, GIF.
Sometimes I call it GIF.
Kenny?
I think we should stop over your head. No, I think GIF. I saw somebody once. It was a thread, and they took a snapshot, and someone said, "No, it's GIF, like the peanut butter."
Yeah.
And someone said, "Every day we get further and further away from Jod." And I was like, "Yeah, we do."
I've never heard it called a GIF. Man.
Really? Oh, it was.
Yeah.
It's a generation question, so I was curious where it would go.
Yeah, there's people out there who are beyond help, and that's who those people are.
It's not even the funny part is it's not a real conversation, because the person who created it like definitively said it's GIF. That's what it is. But I swear there is a group, we will get hate mail. We have never got mail, but this will be the time we get some hate mail. And I'm excited.
And you need to send all of it to Coach
Kyle.
Chris at.
Oh, yeah. Now, here's the thing. How do you argue with the guy that named it?
That's my
dude.
But
you live in Florida, okay? You've got some real special people down there, all right?
Yes, we do.
You get hopped up on the bath salts. You might argue that the world is flat.
That's
all right.
The world flat.
That, and by the way, that's now the clip to promote this episode. Come in here. Who's gonna argue with common sense, bruh? Bruh.
2025. You must not watch a lot of news, so there you go.
I would stay away from it.
I would too. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh, so
good.
Clearly the fact that we went down the GUI road tells us we should click into some technology. I think one of the things that was so interesting about setting up this call and just my little knowledge of your guys' history is that you guys understand technology and understand how to make technology usable. I would maybe just a little background on how you guys got into the tech world and maybe just a little intro to what you're doing with the Profit First app.
For me, my background is in technology. I'm an engineer by nature. So I spent the past 23, 24 years developing technologies. And yeah, I mean, there's always like businesses or things, you always have different challenges with different types of technologies. And I think something that rang true for me was reading a few different books. And Profit First was one of those books that resonated very quickly, I'll say, with me. And in going through the journey of rolling out the Profit First system and starting to help others do that process, we definitely saw a need to have a software to help increase our capacity to help others in that area. That's a perfect opportunity when you have a very defined process and you have the ability to reach large volumes of people. Implementing a software platform for something like that is really a perfect fit. in my
So I
opinion.
want to dig into that just because for those who don't know, my background is building a HubSpot agency. And so I've done a lot of like technical implementations and things like that. And with any large, complex tech platform, you get to map processes and you go through the design of all of that. And so many people are not doing what you are describing, which is they're looking at the technology to build the process for them, as opposed to let's build the process and have technology support that, or let's have a business goal or outcome or something and have technology support that. Can you talk a little bit about how you've come to that way of thinking of like process, outcome, goal first, technology second, and what are the pitfalls that y'all have seen with folks who get that reversed?
I think that's the perfect order. I think you hit it right on the nail on the head there, Kenny, that when you have that defined process and having software really holds you accountable to that process, right? So you'll have processes documented on paper, which is great. But when you go to scale the business, when you go to teach that process to others, when you have software that forces you to follow the steps, it really holds you accountable to that process. I think that's one of the huge values of having the process defined first, like you said, and then having that software come in and enforce it.
Because otherwise you could just not feel like it one day and be like, you know what, I don't like snapping photos of my receipts and everything, so I drive my accountant crazy. And if I'm just not feeling it, I'm in a rush. We all get busy. We're entrepreneurs, especially those types and visionaries. I'm going mock Jesus with my hair on fire. I don't have time to stop for this. I'll design the process. I won't adhere to it, but all of you should.
And I'll ask others to.
Right. Yeah.
Is there a certain amount of repetitions you want a business, like in your experience? You said, I adopted it. I was able to roll it out. I started to help others. There's a certain amount of repetitions there that tells you, okay, now's the time to build this tech. Now's the time to bring this in because we've gone through enough iterations. Let's talk about that, because this isn't obviously something you woke up and said, today's the day.
I'd say infinite. Is that a number? Because I think we're still iterating on, right? You're still evolving that process. But I think specifically, in my opinion, going through it yourself. And then I think, as you guys would all know, having the ability to teach others that process, I think, is the other important step. So for me personally, going through it in the Profit First in my own business, I saw what it did in my business. It turned our life around. It really did, personally and professionally. And I became passionate about it, and I wanted to teach others. So then I started coaching others. I went through the process and I learned even more by coaching, right? And teaching others, but you learn even more. And so by going through those steps, for me, Chris, I don't know about you, but going through the implementing myself, teaching others really gave me the confidence to say, hey, this is a winning recipe here. And I think we got something to roll out.
And this is a blueprint. Like, this isn't your first rodeo of doing something like this, right?
Chris has a lot of background, which is one of the reasons I obviously knew Chris. He was our EOS implementer at our previous company. And yeah, Chris has been through this blueprint more than enough time.
Anything we're missing here, Chris?
Yeah, Jason's been very humble. So I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off and embarrass him a little bit. Him and his partner, Richard Maxwell, also partner in this organization, head of our development. They had a custom dev shop on the Space Coast, and Jason started it. And through his peer group, we met and we implemented EOS over the course of, I think, 3 years. And Jason and Richard doubled in size.
Wow.
And they were on a fantastic trajectory. And then COVID hit. and you lose a few DoD contracts, or let's just say the DoD puts the cash flow on hold and you're not getting paid and you don't know when you're going to get paid. And for the first time in the history of their company, they were upside down. And that's just an uncomfortable position. And so the cool thing is they had the confidence after working with me and implementing EOS, and they're framework guys anyway. They're both engineers, and we're in their peer group, and somebody handed them Profit First, and they had the confidence from implementing EOS. They're like, hey, let's just follow the book. And they did. And in 18 months, not only were they debt free, they had a 6-month cash reserve.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah. So the story and so when I was with EOS, I co-founded 90 with Mark Abbott. And before that, I had software for doctors. Before that, I had point of sale software for Trek Bicycle. So I've been in the SaaS game for a long time. So pulling it forward, I got a call from Jason and he said, hey, can I send you a book? And he sent me his copy of Profit First with all of his little yellow sticky notes all throughout the book. So I read the sticky notes first, to be honest with you.
That's awesome.
That's where the nuggets are. Let's
What they're
be
for,
real.
right?
I figured those were either ideas or pain points.
Instead of Cliff Notes, he had Jason Notes.
I had Jason notes. And went through, obviously, his notes, went through the book, and I called him back and I said, let's do this. Because like EOS, great program, but they hadn't made the leap to a digital solution.
Yep.
Everything's paper-based. And with Profit First, once you get Profit First up and running, fantastic. Getting it up and running on the front end, laborious. And we like to think we've fixed that. So we have the exclusive rights with the author, Mike Michalowicz, and Mike is part of our team at Profit First app. So
and he'll be watching this. So glad you're watching, Mike.
Yeah. So we have our SLT meetings and
smash that like and subscribe button, Mike.
And share with all your friends.
Yeah. Exactly. But the story, I just wanted to share a little bit more color on that because we're all in the same space, and there are a lot of small business owners that are struggling, albeit hitting the ceiling, cash flow, operations. We know the common pain points. And like I said, I kind of gave the 3 legs to the stool. And I will tell you, between a framework, this cash flow methodology, it's a game changer. It's going to be a game changer. It's already happening. Yeah. We're already seeing it.
Wow.
I'll throw this in there, and I've already shared this before with Jason and Chris because I know them outside of this one conversation, but Profit First saved my first company with my agency. I was thankful that I met an accountant who was a Profit First professional, like you, Jason, that had gone through the training and the coaching and all of that. And it is a pain in the butt to get it set up, and your bank looks at you like you're freaking insane because you're like, I want 5 accounts. They're like, slow down, junior. And so doing that, and then I built my own spreadsheet for the target allocation percentages and current allocation percentages, and then every other week I was doing it. Like I was doing it, and I saw it working. But it drained. If you're familiar with Working Genius, enablement and tenacity are my frustration. I would sit in a tub full of scissors because it's that god awful. I just hate like going in there, click, move, and I'm like, screw it. I'm just not going to do it. I'll let my business go under because I'm that frustrated with this. And that's some hyperbole, but it really made a huge difference. So when I first got to take a look at the app, I was blown away, and I was like, I was excited. I was also pissed off that y'all weren't innovative earlier. I don't know what you're waiting on, but it's cool that you're doing it now. So I can speak from personal experience, like that you may think Jason and Chris, because their names are on the business, that they're saying all these good things. Like, no, it made a real difference in my small business, and I'm implementing it again in my current business.
Thousands upon thousands of businesses that have been impacted by Profit First. Mike has done a phenomenal job similar to Gino. And they really kept it simple. And I remember my dad, so I'm a third gen entrepreneur, more accidental. I wasn't sure I wanted to be one, but my dad from a young age taught me and my 7 brothers, always pay yourself first. So sales minus profit equals expenses. That's the methodology that Mike does for profit first. It's the envelope method. Way back, my mom grew up on a rural farm, and my parents had a dairy farm, and the cash went in the exactly five.
You get
five
fancy
envelopes.
and get one of those plastic ones that's an accordion. That's when you knew you're like, I didn't know we were doing that well.
Yeah, slow your roll. But and the thing is, it's still such a prevalent problem, and we want to impact small businesses around the world. And we're starting right here.
Oh, this is great. You 3 have experience with it. I understand the concept. It's that simple, but I haven't applied it yet. And so I've been a little nervous. Like, I'm just watching myself as I listen to it and learn about it. And I'm thinking of the audience too. It sounds scary to implement it now because it sounds laborious. That's what I've heard is, it's such a pain. And so the first question, and I'll get to the pain part in a second. The first question is it book or tech first? As I got into EOS as a landscape, we've talked about it. First, it was the book, then the business, and then the tech. What do you think is the right order of operations for profit first? Is it book first or tech first for someone who's new to it?
My opinion would be the book would be first. The book kind of give you the base vocabulary, right? And the kind of foundational tools. And I think, like for me, I read the book 5 different times, probably, which sounds ridiculous when I say it, but that's what I had
Words
to do.
is hard.
That doesn't count the audio books, but I had to keep reading it. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And it's something that I tell everybody that I coach and help through the process. The beauty is the simplicity of the system, right? Chris said, it is a simple process, but it's not easy to implement, right? And so every business owner is going to get to a point where there's a difficult decision to make, right? And so the process is simple, but going through that implementation can be very challenging.
Wait, you're an engineer and you made something harder that was simple? No, I'm kidding.
No, we actually took what was in the book to Kenny's point of that whole thing of having to explain to your banker why you have to have 5 accounts. They're looking at you like, okay, Junior, no, you don't.
Yeah. Would you say, Jason, that maybe the difficulty, not with reading, but with that's okay. Yeah, audiobooks. Yeah, my wife says they don't count either, but she doesn't know. She's not on this podcast. So look at where that got her. God, I'm going to get so much hate mail. People love my wife so much and me not so much.
Courtesy.
Yeah, I got canceled. I'm curious if the difficulty is not in the methodology, because I would agree with you. I was like, it's 5 bank accounts. If you look at your hand, 5, unless you're a wood shop teacher, then you maybe have less. But if you can get to 5, then it is pretty simple in the way it flows. But do you think it's the mindset shift about it that is where the real difficulty lies? It's not in the book. Mike is a terrific author. Like he has a gift for simplifying the complex and communicating in a way that's really accessible and actionable as well, which is something I've always appreciated about his writing and presentation style. But do you think it's the mindset shift instead of just having 1, maybe 2 accounts and it's like money in, money out when I'm a small business owner, entrepreneur, high flying, flaming visionary? Or do you think it's something else that is the stumbling block for people getting started?
For me, the thing that I see is really 2 things that people stumble on the most. Number 1 is the behavioral shift. So profit first methodology is hugely a behavioral shift in our mind in terms of now, instead of us having one giant plate that we're eating from, we have smaller plates and it gets to be uncomfortable, right? What do you mean? I got $1,000 that came in. What do you mean I only have $700 to spend on my expenses? So that behavioral shift, and the way you overcome that is by incrementally changing slowly, right? So you don't go all in at once, right? So that behavioral thing is the biggest part. And once you get that shift done, the system really is designed for you to start lowering your expenses. Okay. That's the uncomfortable, that's the most uncomfortable part. And I'll give you my example real quick that Chris talked about. My company with Richard, as he said, the Richard and I's company, we had 28 employees, 28 engineers. We had 10,000 square foot facility. And
overhead.
yeah,
I have heartburn just
crazy.
listening to
it
this
was
right now.
horrible. We didn't sleep. We had mountains of debt. I had this. Engineers aren't cheap either, right? The payroll was ridiculous. So going through the system was a horrible experience because I had to go down to 14 people. I took 28 people to 14. I moved out of that big, beautiful 10,000 square foot place that me and Richard designed to the little tiny 5,000 square foot facility. And guess what? After doing all that, our revenue only changed 14%. So that shows you after I cut half of my staff and I cut the building in half,
Wow.
and our revenue only dipped, that showed you in my particular instance how bloated we were. So that is the most challenging part. When people don't want to let go, and these are all great people, right? These are all family, they're small, it's a small business. So having to let these people go, knowing that I made a bad decision and I grew before we were ready, that's the hardest part. So when I got to look at the owner and I, when I'm coaching them and say, guys, we got to look at your payroll, we got to look at your overhead, and they have to, eventually you have to make that decision. That's the worst part.
Whoa.
That's what makes it hard.
And
It's
here's
the decision
the thing,
making.
the part that like Jason was talking about was incrementally changing your allocations, not just coming in and making these full sweeping decisions and boom.
Like coming in like Miley Cyrus.
Exactly.
Say more about that, because that was something for me that when I read the book, and obviously you're seeing like the recommended based on like gross revenue, like what those percentages should be. When I saw that, I was like, like I already knew I'm not going to fit this. But Chris, I like what you're saying is that there's like this flexibility within it. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, and that's where the control comes in. So look, anytime you bring software into your company or change software, not everybody likes change.
Nobody likes change.
Not engineers
But
either.
if
Hey, you must be doing something wrong.
we all know if nothing changes. So these small businesses, they're in quite a bit of pain, right? And cash flow wise. And the idea is to smooth out that front entry point, the sort of the onboarding through the software. You can't eliminate it completely. You can't. It's just the reality of business. You got to set it up. You got to go through it. But the beauty of it is once you get it, now you're in control and you can set your allocations without burying yourself, whether it's an uninformed decision or a knee-jerk decision. Once you get set up, now you're in control. And you can work with your profit first professional and you can lay out the allocations in a comfortable timeline. One thing I wanted to go back on, your question was book or software first. You don't need to read the book to get started. I think
it would help.
Spoken like a purebred entrepreneur.
Well,
you don't need that. Don't read it. Just get in there. Get in the mix.
I'm not going to give away. But most entrepreneurs are quick starts and they jump in. CFOs are not, but most small businesses don't have a CFO. They have a bookkeeper, maybe an accountant or a CPA. But again, it goes back to the pain point. But I truly do believe they're synonymous. Start the book, download the software, start the book. Now, I'm not going to give away some cool stuff that's coming out in version 2.0, but we have a very cool onboarding now that is fun, entertaining, and so much better, so much easier. Like
bringing that Florida vibe.
It's like instead of I got to go to page 20. I got to go to page 22 to figure out what I'm supposed to do in the software. You don't have to do that.
Right.
Right. You can kind of do both, like learn and do to pair it in your mind.
Right. There's a guide and then there's the book. So that's my answer is you can do both.
I love
Good point.
It's interesting because I feel like the way you guys, it sounds like the way you're building the tech allows for it to be more not standalone. Because if Jason, you read it 5 times and there were notes all over it, there's probably a lot of depth in there, but it doesn't mean you can't start. And I like the approach of it being easier for someone like me. Because you're right, I have discernment issues. So I just kind of get in there and start playing around. And then I might get stuck and then go to the book. So it's good. Good.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to pause. We're already a little bit in, but either one of you or both of you talk over each other like it's a Sunday morning gab fest, but talk about the model and then the simple formula for people who are like, okay, well, I'm hearing profit first. And I heard the equation, like what Chris said, like that's cool. A good gold nugget to really think on. But what does it mean when we say 5 bank accounts, like profits first? What are target allocation percentages and those sort of things? So walk us through the model at a high level.
That would be great.
Yeah, at the most basic level, it is similar to the envelope system, right? That some of us are familiar with, right? And the premise is the 5 basic accounts is an income bank. So when I say 5 basic accounts, I'm talking about bank accounts. So what you're doing in essence is you're dividing your money up over not just one bank account. Most businesses have 1, maybe 2 bank accounts. We're going to create 5 bank accounts that become binned money assigned for certain purposes in your business. We'll just say the first one's your income. So all the money coming in goes into one single bank account, all your accounts, receivables, and sales. And then on some specified period, usually I coach to do it weekly, sometimes bi-weekly. We're going to take all the money that's in that income account and we're going to distribute it to 4 other accounts. It's going to be your profit account. It's going to be your owner's pay account, or if you have payroll, it might be your payroll account. You're going to have a tax account for Uncle Sam, and you're going to have your OPEX account. So those are the 5 basic accounts that you set up and you divvy up the money to allocate to those specific purposes. And so when you get to that bottom account, your operating expenses, that's to cover your rent, your utilities, the basics of the business. And that's the part that gets uncomfortable because now you're taking your money and you're slicing it up into 5 chunks. And when you as a business owner sees that, you get a little anxiety. And how you overcome that, to Chris's point, is you only allocate maybe 1% to profit. If you're making $1,000 and you can allocate 1%, right? You can look, what is that, $10, right?
Yeah.
$10, is it $10? Yeah.
I thought you said you were good with numbers.
Yeah, right.
No, he's an engineer, not a banker.
Yeah, I've always been comfortable with numbers. What's 10% of the carry the two?
100.
This is a great opportunity. Kyle, who's our sponsor? No.
Give him some help. But if you
Kyle,
have $1,000,
how do you get anything
you
done
can
with
run your
Kenny?
business off of $990, Dan.
Listen, how do I get anything done? I don't, and that's the best part of this
It's
whole
awesome.
podcast.
I'm a life enrichment.
You are a life
You
enrichment.
get this far into the podcast, you deserve this moment with us, and then we will still land the plane. It's a Delta flight.
Gotcha. We're so 1,000
Some percent
divided.
very small.
Divided.
What I was saying is I start them slowly, right? So 1% in profit. So if you're making $1,000 and you're running off your business there, by God, you could run it off with $999, right? Or $990. That's and they slowly increment them. So,
But the point is really interesting because I think that was the fear I was hearing was you talked about dropping revenue by 14%, half your team, half your square footage. And did that happen overnight? No,
2 years. It was almost 2 years. So it is a process like anything. Like Chris said, is about 18 months. We went in from mountains of debt and couldn't sleep to positive cash in the bank. And I tell you what, for anybody's out there, the difference in your health, we'll say, right? Your mental well-being of going from I owe all these people money. How am I going to pay this payroll to the point of where I have the right size team? I have 6 months of cash in the bank. Oh my gosh. What a difference. I mean, that is what I mean when I say it changed my life personally and on the business side, because Now I was relaxed. I was focused on what it is that I'm good at, and that's creating products. And I
You didn't have
mind.
to out earn your
No.
mistakes or just
Right.
that's a constant cycle that's
Oh,
really
yeah.
tough. Plus,
That's right.
when a market experiences a downturn or something else, like you've got the cash reserves, you've got profit if you wanted to tap into that to really capitalize on opportunities. But when you're covered in debt and everything, you're eaten up to the last cent, you can't take advantage of that. I've felt that there's things that I like, whether it was certifications or a speaking and or sponsorship opportunity that would have been really good for my business. I couldn't take advantage of it
Mm.
because my money was all tied up over here. And I'm like, okay, that's now I'm
Yeah.
going to have to live with the fact that's a missed opportunity. And sometimes you could say, well, you take on some debt and you flip yourself out of it. Like, maybe, but I don't think that often happens. And then you pay the price, not just literally, but mentally and emotionally. And not that we need to dive into all of this, but entrepreneurs have a crazy high suicide rate,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'll
it
find
just,
the light here somehow. What was the moment of momentum for you? Because you're sitting on a pile of debt. You implement this system, and that had to be so painful because you're like, where do I put any of that? There's no money to put anywhere. But at some point, you started to like, oh, my $1 to $10 plus or minus your small percentage started to grow.
Yeah.
And then you had to feel it. What was that moment of momentum?
So I think it's twofold. I think it's the first time I did my allocation into my profit account and I saw it go there, right? So that's that behavioral, okay,
Yeah.
there's some money getting tucked away.
A
But as
pellet.
part of this system, every quarter, you take that money that accumulates in your profit account and ultimately you do what it is, the plan that you have set for yourself to do, which in my case, when I first started, was to get out of debt. So I had built up $25,000, whatever it was, in that profit account. And I took that money at the quarter and I just put it towards my debt. And seeing my debt go down in 90 days, and then I did it again in 90 days, that was the momentum. It was right. Like I'm debt averse. I don't like it. You know what I mean? And so seeing that every 90 days, my debt go down was just a huge relief.
Chris,
the
I
other,
interrupted
the
you.
other
What were you
part
going to
of
say?
this, the other part of this coin, you guys, is the educational part. Do you know how many tens of thousands of other small business owners out there that don't know what they don't know, whether it be operations or cash flow management? They probably know sales, right?
Yep.
They know how to close something, but they generally follow their passion, but they get into business and they realize, oh shit, there's a lot to running a business and this finance piece. So for me, there's dyslexia with letters. There's dyslexia with numbers. I have dyslexia with numbers. When I look at a spreadsheet, I want to vomit. Like I need to see a pie or a bar graph. Show me a spreadsheet. I'm like, nope, can't do it. So anyway, the educational part is think of the impact we can have with this software. Just increasing financial acumen, cash flow management for these small businesses. And so that everybody on the team, and listen, I've coached a lot of teams, a lot of executives. Just because they're a $30 million company doesn't mean everybody on the team knows everything there is to know about finance.
That was going to be my question. How much does this illuminate strategy opportunity or change management or other kind of shifts from the leadership or whoever is surrounding that small business owner? Because when they start seeing this methodology, I mean, they have to be do you bring it to that level or is it just for the business owner? Maybe that's a better question.
Jason?
I think what Profit First does, and this is Mike McAllitz's words that he'll say all the time, is that Profit First doesn't break your business. It uncovers that your business is broken. And so what it does is it strips apart your company into these bins of money that you allocate. And by going through that process, you do uncover those things that your business really is broken. Maybe you do have too many people on your payroll because you can really only make increase your profitability by a few different ways. You can reduce your expenses, increase your efficiency, or up your price. That's it. That's really it. Yeah, I mean, if there's another one out there I'm unaware of, but when you go through this system, those are some of the three things that you look at, right? And increasing efficiency is one of those ones, I would say, Kyle, that would uncover strategies on how you can improve your business without just buying more people or more resources.
Yeah, and this would be a debate. You manage a business through the numbers because the numbers don't lie. As long as you got good data going in, right? That's truly how you keep your finger on the pulse of your company, and that's how you should be making your decisions. And Mike, similar to Gino, right? Gino just said, I'm in Detroit, let's make it a wheel hub. There's 6 key components to your business. Simplify. There's beauty in that. Mm-hmm. And so similarly, that's how Mike looked at cash flow management. He's, let's just get back to the basics here. Like the old envelope method, right? Kind of Dave Ramsey stuff.
Right.
And sales minus profit equals expenses. Pay yourself first. It's been around a long time, but that scary part, Kyle, that part that's been holding you back, yeah, just jump in, bro.
No.
That's it. That's all. That's it.
All right, jump in.
How many case
No
studies?
bath salts.
No, you don't need bath salts.
Hey, that was the 4th way you could increase selling.
Yeah, or selling scissors on the street corner.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go. Man, I think we found our title for the
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
It's bath salts
Bath
are in there
salts.
somewhere.
You don't need bath salts to pay yourself first.
Yeah.
Buy your bath salts first.
Yeah. That's what you do at the end of the quarter. You take 50% of the profit account. You buy yourself something nice. Now, I actually do. It was cool. Jason, I love what you did with your 90-day, like the quarterly profit distribution. You took it, applied it towards debt. That's smart. I took mine and I still have a set of headphones and a pair of shoes. It was the first time I bought myself a really nice pair of shoes. They looked super cool. They're very different. They got holes all in them now. But I remember like how excited I was that I was like, I had done the work. I had worked hard to deliver, to sell, to do this, to stay organized, to be a prudent business owner, make sure I had enough to pay my staff. And I was even doing a profit distribution with one of my hires who had been there. She was part of it. And I remember taking mine and being able to go buy these headphones because we were all in this one office and I needed something to block out them, but not let them hear all the angry rock music I was listening to because they think I'm cheerful. But yeah, it's one of those things, like it has some weird psychology that it sticks with you. This is going to sound goofy, but you feel proud of yourself. You're like, I tried to build a thing and I did it responsibly. I was an adult today.
You took a risk to start something, which is the first step for every entrepreneur. Now, some people, they're all gung-ho and they hit reality pretty quick. And there are others who take it methodically and plan. But at the end of the day, you got to watch your money.
Right.
Well, tangible part of being an entrepreneur. And I think it's easy to get lost in the work. It's easy to get lost in, and I'm not saying this was you, Jason, but having this beautiful space, it's the big team. Like it's easy to do that because I think a lot of the entrepreneurs that we talk to or that would listen to the show, they're givers. And I think that's so easy for them to give out first. And this is a way to be hey, I did the right thing here. And this is the proof. And I'm not only going to be able to take care of others, I can take care of me, because the truth is the selfish part is if entrepreneurs don't take care of themselves and their business, they can't take care of anyone else.
You got to put the mask on first, right?
You do.
Right.
I love what you said, Kenny, about rewarding yourself. That is a huge part of the system. Yep. And so when I was taking and paying that debts, I always did take some distribution for us. That's part of the behavioral. And then as we paid the debts off, you said shoes. I'm going to show you my shoes real quick. Just 1 second.
Yes.
This is the moment of momentum, trademark.
Are we talking like Johnston Murphy level? What are we talking here?
So as we crushed the debt, right, and we built up our cash reserve with following the system quarter after quarter, we started sharing the profits with our employees, right? And so every quarter I bought the money shoes, and I would wear these bad boys every quarter, and then I'd go around and I'd hand the profit checks out every quarter. So when everybody saw me wearing these bad boys, they knew the checks were coming. You know what I mean?
That's
So
awesome.
This is my money shoes.
That's the title. That's the title. It's official.
Money shoes.
Money
yeah,
shoes.
that's. I think it creates clarity. It's got great SEO.
That's
Super
awesome.
One quick thing I wanted to mention that Chris, what you're talking about is managed by the numbers. We look at KPIs, data, scoreboard, scorecard, all those things. One of the things I really appreciated, and I'd be curious what y'all hear from owners and business leaders, the fact that it is bucketed at first feels weird, but then you start to realize, and the thing that was attractive to me in reading the book was he said, look, you're an entrepreneur. I don't need you to stop being an entrepreneur because that's what makes you great. And I know that if you could just look at some accounts and say, am I good? 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 Great. I can keep moving on and keep making decisions quickly. Can you talk a little bit about how that's impacted the people y'all have talked to? And because I imagine that there's an entrepreneur like, this sounds great, maybe a little complicated, it's different, blah, 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 blah. It's going to slow me down, which that you might as well like stab an entrepreneur by trying to slow them down.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite. I don't think it does slow them down. I think it provides, as entrepreneurs, you can look at balance sheets and P&L sheets until your face is blue. And most people don't understand what they are anyways. A lot of the entrepreneurs out there. But you know what I can do? I can log into my bank and I can look at my bank accounts and I can say real quickly, hey, I'm good, right?
Damn
straight. So I think the clarity and the efficiency of bringing that clarity and using that is huge, right? I was a soccer player most of my life, and I would make an analogy to it to say, hey, if you got the ball and you're looking down the whole time, you can't see anything happening, right? But if you can take a look up and you can have that clarity, you're not always worried about the money. Guess what? You're a better player. You're gonna work better. You're gonna do the things that you love and care about much better when you're not always looking down and concerned about the money. But just logging into the app and looking at your bank account, man, it's free.
I love, because with one bucket, one bank account, it hides so much, and it's that question mark. Kenny did this at well, I think it's good.
Click.
And then in the slices, I can in my mind's eye see that much more clearly. Yes, no, that's exactly behavior. How does the app integrate to that moment?
So it does. So it connects to the bank accounts. And so when you open up the app, you can just log in real quick and it syncs to your bank account and you can see quickly what you got in each one of those accounts. Do I have enough for payroll coming up tomorrow? Oh, yes, I do. Cool. Not worried about it. So yeah, the app integrates right with your bank, pulls down the bank balances for you, and you can see everything mapped out for you.
Wow.
Yeah. In the palm of your hand.
Now, if somebody was curious and they've decided to jump in with the tech, and then get the book along the way because they're quick starts, what would they do? What's the best way to engage with you guys?
So profitfirstapp.com is where you go, and you can get started right there at the top right. Click on the button to get started.
That's for end users and coaches. Coaches who are serving their clients. We have an affiliate program. If they have clients that are struggling with cash flow management, we'll be doing a lot of providing support for coaches, webinars, and user webinars. I think the book sells a couple thousand a month or something.
Wow.
Worldwide. Yeah. It's impressive actually. And right now we're domestic, North America, and 2.0 will be coming out, which we're really excited about. And for both end users and coaches who are servicing those small businesses.
Well, thanks guys for being on. I really appreciate it. I can speak for my co-host and say this was a great one. I had a lot of fun.
I did too.
I
was in a bathtub of scissors. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?